Hey, also, this is tutorial 5. At this point, you should have already made your Revit family, you have already made your site, you spent 2 tutorials making your existing building, you spent 1 tutorial kind of like ripping it apart and remodeling. We spent a lot of time on modeling. Things we haven't spent time on yet are annotation and views, and that's what we're going to focus on in this tutorial. So you'll notice that in your project browser, you have a whole section called views, and there's all kinds of views in here. There's floor plans, ceiling plans, 3D views. The one I'm in right now is a 3D view, and you can see it's highlighted, it's bold. Elevations, sections, and beyond those views, we also have legends, schedules, and sheets. So it's a little, I tend to work kind of between sheets and views, like kind of hand in hand. I'm going to do my best to keep them separate in here so that we spend time talking first about views and annotation and adding annotation to them, and then looking at sheets in the next tutorial. So the goal is that now that we have this model, right, I have this model that I've made that shows all of my design. I want to be able to show that in a set of construction documents, or a set of concept documents at least, that kind of go through it in an orderly way. So if I go to level 1, right, so we've also been working through our floor plans to some extent. So you can kind of see, like, here's my floor plan. I have some bold things in here, depending on what's new and old, right? So existing things are grayed out a little bit. Newer things are bolder. If you type in TL thin line, it'll like show up what's newer, right? You can kind of see what's new versus what's old. So that's all in here. So floor plans are kind of where we're starting at. So I wanted to begin by just adding a couple of things to here. So you'll notice that an annotation is anything that is 2D in nature. It's not part of the modeled objects of your building. It's something that's giving more information about something. So there are some annotations that will automatically show up. For example, right now we have this bubble here. This bubble is called a call out, and it's telling you that there's another drawing that gives us more information about the living space. So and then there's a tab on here. When you add this to a sheet, it'll actually reference what that sheet is in this tab. Another thing is room tags. Room tags are an annotation. So the room itself is a modeled object, but if I hover over to just that little box, I can move the label, and that label is an annotative category. These are elevation views. So again, those are showing me that there's an elevation view there. This is a section view. It's showing me there's a section view there. So to make any of these things, which we've done throughout our time, you would go over to view, and then you can create a section or a call out or an elevation view or an additional plan view as you need to. I just want to go through the plans we need and make sure that they are all cleaned up and ready to go, and create any additional views we might want, and add any kind of annotation we might want. So one thing I'd like to do is make sure to clean up any of these kind of section lines. When I click on my section, you'll notice that it creates like this line going through my whole project, which I think is confusing. So I'm going to hit this little gap, little squiggly gap, and I'm going to drag those bubbles up. And that allows that just to stay a little bit cleaner, so I don't have the line going through my whole drawing. I think my elevations are already fairly clean. They're in a good place. There are ways that I can change how this appears so that it has a certain look. Right now, the plans are all on fine detail view. They probably don't need to be. So I'm going to go over here, change this to hidden line. So this is my display tab, and I'm also going to change this to be medium instead of fine. It looks like my stairs right now aren't aligning with my doors. So I'm going to do an AL and just bring those in so those are correct. Okay. Now that I've done that, I'm going to alter a couple of things in my visibility displays. So I'm going to type in VV, and then over here, I'm going to turn off my reference planes. I don't want to see those. So that might be, it's under annotation categories. Let's see. Looking for R for reference planes. Yeah, so I'm going to make those invisible and hit OK. So the green lines now go away. They are still there. So anytime I want to see what's hidden, I can click on this button down here that says Reveal Hidden Elements. And you will see those lines pop back up. I just want this as clean as I can right now so I can kind of see what's going on. Another thing I want to change for these first floor plans is I don't want to show furniture in them. So I'm going to type in VV, and then over here I'm going to uncheck furniture and hit apply. So let's make sure that worked. Great, that disappeared. Also, this lighting fixture is showing up down here because it hangs down. I don't really want to see it on my floor plan, so I'm going to uncheck lighting fixtures and hit OK. The last thing I want to do is although I know this already has a bold line, I really want to pop out my new walls by making them filled in completely with a poche. So I'm going to type in VV, and I'm going to go down in visibility here, and under floors, sorry, not under floors, under walls. So I'm going to go into walls. I'm going to go here to patterns under cut. So I want to go to my cut pattern. So just where I'm cutting through a wall, override this, and I want it to be, hang on, I want the pattern to be different. So I'm going to go to cut, pattern, override. I'm going to make the pattern a solid fill, and I'm going to make it black, and then hit OK, hit OK, hit OK again. And then you'll notice that my new walls are showing up black as opposed to my old walls are showing up as white. And that's just to help me distinguish those a little bit further so that it's super clear that that is the new stuff. So beyond that, I don't think I have a lot to change on this view. I'm pretty happy with it. I do have a detail line here to delete, so I'm going to leave this alone. Actually, let me add some dimensions. So dimensions are helpful just to kind of understand what we're dealing with. And existing things you don't need to dimension because somebody on site will just be able to see what size they are. But when I'm building something new, I want to show what the dimensions are. So I can either type in DI to make a dimension string, or I can go to annotate, align dimension, which is over here. And I'm going to dimension from the existing wall out to whatever is important here. So I'm going to say the interior dimension of this was important. So I'm going to get that interior dimension, and I click out here in the middle to show where that is. I also need what the width of the bathroom is. So I'm going to hit tab, click on that interior wall, click on the interior of this wall. And I have that. I do not need to actually. Okay, so I don't need to dimension the wall width because somewhere in my set, my drawing set, I would define what this wall composition is. What I do need to do is tag my wall. So I'm going to type in TG. If you don't remember the thing for that, I think it's tag by categories, TG. And you're going to click on the wall. And you want to click on each wall, hit tab if you're not getting the right thing. Okay, and you notice right now nothing is showing up in that annotation. In order to get that to read, and this is my W3, I'm going to go over to edit type, and then it's going to have in here the type mark. Here I'm going to type in W3, hit OK. And then you'll notice that all of those, now that that has an identity, is defined. So when I am actually creating my drawing set, I would have a set of details that show me what that wall looks like. And it would be a separate thing that shows me what's in that wall. So I'm going to type in TG, get this last wall in here. Okay, so even though I have this diagram here, my goal is always to have enough information on here that everyone can kind of figure out what things are and what, especially for new things, what dimensions they are, what they need to build. This door also needs to be tagged, so I'm going to type in TG. I'm going to tag that door. I did not go about doing my doors like a logical way. So I'm going to just start numbering from here any new doors. Existing doors that I'm not changing, I don't need to number because they don't need to be ordered. They're not going to cross-reference anywhere. So over here, I'm just going to come down, and where it says mark, that's the number that's going to show up in there. So I'm going to make this 01. Okay, so I have this little new area. These are also new. I don't have a schedule for these yet, but I'm going to tag them. So it might say that they don't have a tag for something. So you can either cheat at this point and put in like just some letters, or you can load in a new tag. So let's see what it wants me to load in as my new tag. I'm going to go to my Imperial Library, annotations. Let's see, can we use like a detail item tag for that? Probably not. We might have to make a tags. I don't think there's the one that we can just steal. So I cancel. So I'm actually not going to tag these for now. But how you would do it is you would go into File, New, Family, and then you could create annotations. And like you see, there's these different kinds of annotations. You could create a generic tag and then modify it so that it could tag one of these things. But we're not going to worry about tagging those at the moment because we're not actually making a schedule. So for now, just the fact there's a symbol in there will let me know that like there's new stuff going in. Okay. So nothing else new is happening in here. So I'm going to go to my level 2 plan now. So I'm happy with that one. I'm going to go to level 2. Oh, I totally forgot to dimension the stair. So I need to dimension the stair, and a lot of these dimensions are important. So it's important to me that I know how wide it is, right? So the width of my stair is from here to here, 3 foot. And then it's important that I get what the step is in there. I want to have in here what this dimension is up to the very top of the step. And then here I usually put in, like I'll count, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I'll usually click on this, like how do you do that? You kind of like just click once hard. Then underneath I usually put, oh, how many was it? Was it 18? Try again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I usually click on here and I put in 17 treads, I write in all caps, at 11 inches each and hit OK. So that just kind of helps whoever's fabricating this stair know that these should all be evenly, and they should know this anyway, but they need to be evenly sized, they need to be 11 inches each, and they need to be 17 treads. And over here, I have that one step in there. I also need to dimension the landing here. That's important after this because this is a very important dimension. I'm going to type in clear at the end so that we know that there needs to be a full 4 inches, 4 foot there, clear until the end of that step. Okay, so now that's all set. I didn't have the width here, so I need to add that in as well. So I'm going to add in the width of this stair. Oops, and I want to go from outside to outside, so that's also 3 foot. Okay, so now that should all be dimensioned appropriately. And my room's already tagged, so I'm all set there. I don't need to dimension the door because again, I would have a door schedule that would tell me the size of the door and I can have that separate. All right, so level 1 is set, now I'm going to level 2. So in level 2, I'm going to do the same thing where I divvy up this. Okay, so I'm just making that more clear. So same thing here, anything new I want to make sure I add some dimensions in for. So this is new, so I'm going to do DI, dimension from the interior to the interior there. This is a new opening. So I make sure I dimension that opening. Also, like this opening is new, right? From here to here. And then there's an opening from here over to here. So I'm going to type after this new opening, new floor opening, just to make it super clear. that we're adding in that opening to accommodate the stair. I think that's left over. I'm going to delete those. Those don't need to be there. This is also a new stair, so I want to make sure I dimension that. So I'm going to just dimension, and here I'm trying to decide like what to dimension here. So I really want the radius of this. So if I go to annotate dimensions, I can get the radial. So I can, let's see if it'll let me get that. So I can get the radius of that stair in there. Ideally, that should be 3 feet. It makes that 3 feet. 3 feet, 0 inches. So let me update that. It's not letting me update that. So if I really want to do 3 feet, I can round it. Not best practice. It would be best to kind of remodel this at exactly 3 feet, but I can always round it. So if I go to edit type, I can go over here to units format, and I can uncheck use project settings and round this to the nearest like 1/2 inch, hit OK, hit OK again, and now it's 3.5 inch, which is a little bit less of a crazy number than the 30 seconds one. Okay, so that's showing in there. What I'm missing from these plans right now are my demo sheets. So I know there's actually a lot of stuff that gets demolished on here, and I could have separate demo plans to show that. If this were a demo plan, I would come over here and do show previous and demo, and you would actually see all the stuff that's demoed out. So I think I might do that as a separate plan. I'm not going to do it on this plan. So I'm going to go back to show previous and new. Okay. So actually, we're not doing demo plans for this particular project, but that's how you would do it. So I'm just dimensioning in the new stuff. So that's new. I think that's the only thing that's new. Over here, I have to dimension a little bit, and I have to tag those walls. So I'm going to dimension what the width is here. And then I want to tag this door. I'm going to make this door 02. Uncheck my leader, bring this in. And then I want to tag these walls. So TG, and those are both W3 walls. So I can also, you see, like if I need to make more space over here, I can use this little bubble and kind of move it around. Move this over. And then I can do TG on this wall, and I can do the same thing where I'm kind of using this bubble, aligning this, but then using the bubble to make sure that I'm still pointing at the wall that I need it to be at. Okay, so now everything in there is labeled. I have this dimensioned, I have my new floor opening dimensioned. Here, I just want to put in a note to fill in previous floor opening. So I'm going to click on text. It's 1/4 inch, which is too big, and do 3 and 3/32 serial. Click and drag, and then I'm going to do floor type 1. So how about infill? Floor opening with floor type 1. And floor type 1 would need to be defined somewhere else. So once I click on this, I can add an arrow up here. And I can, I could even, if I want to, give this like a little, some kind of a hatch so that it's clear like where the extents are. So if I right click on here, override graphics and view by element, maybe here I want the surface pattern to be visible. And I'm going to pick a pattern. So maybe I'll do just like a diagonal down pattern in gray, hit OK. Let's apply that and see what it looks like. So now it's clear that this is a floor opening that needs to be infilled as well. I don't think there's anything else new on this floor, so this floor should be good to go. I now am going to go up to my next floor, so level 3. So here, similar stuff. Oh, so one thing I forgot to do in level 1 was make a view template. So going back to my level 1 plan, on here I kind of had defined that darker wall as the new wall, right? And that was something I wanted to continue throughout my floors. So I'm going to go to view and then view template over here. And I'm going to do create template from current view and call this for new floor plans. And hit OK. And then what that does is, like, every time I had typed VV to change something graphically, it made changes to all the things in here. And so what this does is it makes a template that I can apply to any other view that already includes all those changes. So here I'm just going to hit OK. Now if I go to my level 2, double click, I can apply that view template. So over here, where it says view template none under properties, I can change that to new floor plans, hit OK. And you'll notice that it changed it to have the, to actually show that. But I'm a little bit worried about, what am I seeing here? I think like it's looking lower than I want it to. Why is that happening? So I think it's my view range on this might be a little bit messed up. So I'm going to go into my view template. So I'm actually going to Control Z that. Go back to level 1. I'm going to apply my floor template here. So I'm going to make sure that I have my floor template on. And then when I go over here, I actually am going to unclick not parts visibility, detailed. I'm going to undo my view range, so I'm going to uncheck that and see if that fixes it. Okay, so now if I apply it to level 2, so go over here, view template, new floor plans, hit OK. Yeah, so now I don't have that like wacky stair showing up. It's not showing up things that are below this floor level. Okay. So that's mentioned. I think we're all good here. Oh, I need to tag this new window that I put in so that it stands out as a new window. So I'm going to type in TG. And again, like the number on this should not be 21. That's really weird. So I'm going to select the window itself and make the mark like W1. Actually, wall is for W. So let's make this glazing. So G1. I think I need to do edit type and actually do that under type mark. So this should be G1. Hit OK. Still not reading it. Oops, I put that under the wrong thing. Control X, Control V. So type mark is G1, hit OK. All right, there we go. So now that window is called out as being a new window, so that's more clear. Okay, I think I got all the new stuff on this floor. Great, so let's go level 3. And here, same deal, I want to apply my view template. So I'm going to come down here and turn on my architectural new floor plans. Okay, I'm going to click on here, click the little bumper thing. That's going to allow me to split up that section. Okay, so that automatically is showing those new things. I have the same thing here where I have that new piece of floor that I want to call out. So I'm going to steal my note from this level. I'm going to Control C. And then on level 3, I'm going to paste, align the same place. I also want this to read with the floor pattern. So I'm going to right click on here, override graphics and view by element. And then over here, change my pattern to diagonal down. I think I had the color as being that. Hit OK, hit OK again. Okay, so now that's clear that that's new. And then this railing is new. I'm going to just graphically show where that goes. I think that's clear enough. And this is dimension on the floor below, so I don't need to mention it again. I am going to tag this window again, just to make sure it's clear that that is my new window. Okay, and that's everything for the third floor. So my floor plans are pretty set and pretty easy. They are already at 1/4 inch scale. Those look good to go. I'm going to go back and look at my sheet list for what I need. So I have my first, second, and third floor plans. I need front and side elevations. So I'm going to check out those elevations next. This is my first floor plan, or first elevation, so I'm going to double click on there. Okay, so here's my elevation. It's not looking bad so far. I think like it is a little confusing that we see the building beyond. So I might edit how far it can see so that we don't have that happen anymore. So I'm going to go back to level 1. Actually, I'm going to do something quick. I'm going to go over here and hit close inactive. Just because I was getting so many tabs, it was getting hard to look at. Now I'm going to go back to level 1 floor plan. I'm going to click on this. And right now it's just seeing forever. It's not cropping the view anywhere. So if I come over here, I'm going to go over here and then I'm looking for far clipping. And here I'm going to do clip with outline, hit OK. And then far clip offset is 10 feet. So if I click on here on the arrow, you can see how far that is. And that's actually plenty for this. So I'm just going to leave it right where it is there. Same thing for this view. I'm going to click on that. And then over here, I'm going to change this to clip with outline, hit OK, and then I can see how far that is looking. Okay, so going back to my north view, north elevation, there isn't too much I want to do here. I want to tag this window, so I'm going to type in TG, tag the window. I don't need a leader on that. I'm just going to have it right in the middle. I'm going to add in some glass lines. So I can do that just with regular lines. So if I go to Annotate, Detail Line, I'm going to use thin lines here. This is where I change my line type. And I'm just going to create 3 little lines. And I'm going to group them. So if I hold down Control, I can select them all, hit Group. I'm going to call this Glass Lines. And then hit OK. And I'm going to copy those a couple of times just so it's clear that that big white expanse is glass. Okay, so now I have this window, and I'm going, the dimension for this window I won't include here because it should be indicated somewhere else. I am going to indicate that I want it to align to the top here. So I'm going to, again, get my text tool. I'm going to type in just align. I can drag out the sides of this a little bit. And I'm going to put arrows on either side, and I'm going to have them point to what I want to align to what. So I'm aligning this top to that top. And that's really all that I'm changing on this facade, so I don't need to label anything else. I do want to clean up here. You can't really see. So I don't think I need level A to show up anywhere. So I'm just going to right click and hide and view elements. And then this, I'm going to click this little squiggly so I can bring it down a little bit so you can see the difference there. Did I just move that down? No, okay, so I'm hitting the little squiggly just so you can read that. Other than that, this looks fine to me. I want to check where my boundary's at. That looks good. One thing you can do to make this look a little bit fancy is that you can add in a sky to the back of this elevation. So if I want to do that, I go over here to Visual Styles, and then go to Graphic Display Options. And then under Background, I could put in a sky, hit Apply. Whoa, that is way too crazy of a sky. So maybe I'll put in like a gradient and hit Apply. And so that just gives me like a little kind of gradient of where the sky is behind my building, which can be nice. You can also do things like adding shadows. So if I cast shadows here, hit Apply. I don't think that's doing much for me, so I'm going to keep those off. But anything else you want to change here, you can change. Apply, and I'm going to hit OK. Okay, and I'm going to turn off that box. Okay, so there is my first elevation, and then I want to look at this other elevation. So I'm going to double click here. So this other elevation is way bigger than I need to be right now. So I'm going to turn on my crop box over here, and I'm going to bring this in. I actually am going to leave the garage in there because I think it's important context to know that that's there. Again, I'm going to click on here, right click, hide and view elements. There is nothing new on this facade at all. So like, do I really need this elevation? Probably not. I made it, so why not include it? I am going to add the sky to this one also. So over here, again, go to graphic display options, background, gradient, apply, hit OK. And then again, it's just giving me like a little bit of background there. On this, I'm going to hit the little squiggle. Okay, so that's all looking good. I might want a heavy line where the topo is. So if I click on here, right click, and go to override graphics and view by element, I'm going to grab the cut lines. I'm going to make the pattern solid, the color black, and I'm going to bring the weight up to like 9. And let's just see if that works. I hit apply. I think that's too thick, so I'm going to bring it down to 6, hit OK. And that just gives me like a nice heavy line where that topo is. Okay, I should do the same thing in the north view. I didn't do that. So I click on here, right click, override graphics and view by element. And then again, that was going over to cut lines, making this weight 6, making the color black, and making the object style solid, and then hitting OK. And then again, it's just giving me a heavy ground line in my elevation. Okay, so I have my 2 elevations done. What else was I looking for on this? So I have, right now I don't have any perspective views. And I also need to make my site plan. So let's work on those first. So site plan, let's check what that's looking like. It's not really bad. One thing I had done earlier is I had just added transparency to the whole view under here. And the problem with that is that I'm like, I can't make anything opaque, right? Like I don't really want to see all this information here. It's a little bit too much. So I'm going to put my transparency back to normal and hit OK. And then I'm going to, instead of making these transparent, I'm just going to change their colors, I think. Or I can modify it in the view. So over here, this is actually shown as existing, and I'm going to leave it like that so that I don't lose any of my colors. All my renovations from plan perspective are interior, so I don't really need to see anything different in my site plan. My site plan is just locating me and it won't really change, so I'm okay leaving that phase as existing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select my topography, and I can click Control to select more than one piece at a time. I can select all these things, and then I'm going to right click and go to Override Graphics by Element. And over here, I'm going to click on Halftone and apply. Let's just see what that looks like to start with. And then I'm going to bring up my transparency of those and apply. Okay, so now I'm doing it just to those objects instead of the whole thing. And that allows me to keep this kind of bold, which I prefer. I don't want to see my stair lines or my reference planes here, or my section here. So on my section, if I select it, I can hide it at scales coarser than, let's say, 1/8 of an inch and hit apply, and that'll make it disappear. For reference planes, I can right click and do hide and view category. For stair lines, I'm going to type in BB. Go to annotation categories, go down to stairs. And then here I'm going to uncheck stair, support tag, stair landing tag, stair tread riser number, and then hit apply and see if that did it. Yeah. Okay, so it's already looking a little bit better. The cornice is just, I don't need to see it in this view, so I'm going to hide in view element. Okay, so now we have like a more simplified site plan that I think looks a little bit better. And this is all set already. I don't need to add anything else to it. So coming back over here, exterior perspective view, interior perspective view. Okay, so for my exterior perspective view, I can actually make that right here. So I'm going to go to view. Under this little house thing, 3D view, click the down button and click on camera. I'm going to click over here and then click way over here. And that automatically is going to make a little 3D view of my building. In this case, I want to change my phase. I'm going to make this renovation, and here I'm going to do show complete. So I can kind of see my completed view. I might want it to come over a little bit, so I can kind of hold down shift on my middle mouse button to bring that over a tiny bit so you would see a little hint of that stair in there. If I'm happy with how my materials have turned out, I can come over here and put into realistic view. Might take a minute, and that's going to show some of these things happening. It's interesting, it looks like this wall color changed at some point. Yeah, this one shouldn't have gone to that color. So since it did change, I'm going to change it back. So I'm going to go to edit type, edit my structure. Over here, let's see what happened. Brick, common. So I'm going to go to appearance. So I think because over here, I forgot to duplicate this. So you see there's a little 1 here. That means that it's sharing its appearance with another object. So over here, I'm going to duplicate this asset so it says 0 there. And then over here under brick, I'm going to change that back. So the question is, can I re-find where those things live? The answer is I probably can't. So let's see, can I change it with just a tint color? So if we're going to bring it back to like a red, hit OK. And I think I can. That's a little too red, right? So we're going to bring that back a little bit. Maybe more like a brown red in there. Hit OK. Hit OK again. All right, so now that's looking a little bit more normal, that it still has the red front and the cream kind of colored sides. And then I can also turn on the sky in here. So here I go to graphic display options. Under background, here I might want to put in sky, apply. And that's all I'm going to do for this. You can change other settings within this. My shadows, I wonder if I want shadows or not. Let's hit apply and see what they look like. I think if they're light, they won't be bad. So I might just, I think I can lighten them up. So I make my image a little bit brighter. Not too bright. It's not like live updating, which is annoying. I'm going to leave that on automatic. And let's make it just a tiny bit brighter than that. Okay, and then I thought I could change how dark my shadows were. Yeah, so I can bring my shadows down. And I can bring my ambient light up. Again, I have to keep hitting apply because it's not automatically updating itself. So that's looking a little bit better. I'm going to hit OK on that. I might want to make this smaller, so if I click the boundary here, I can bring in the bubbles and make it a little bit smaller. Okay, so there's my 3D view 1. I'm going to rename this. Click rename, exterior perspective. Okay, we also want to have an interior perspective. The only room I really did much to, I put something in, was like that level 1 room. So I'm going to go back to that, and I'm going to put my view in here. So I'm going to go to view, 3D view, camera, bring that over. And so here I'm dragging out the sides of this just to kind of show what that interior view would look like. I can do the same thing over here where I change it to realistic. You'll notice that let's see, this is under renovation. I'm going to just change this to show complete. I'm going to get rid of some of the gray. Yep, so then you would still see like the actual red brick wall there, some of the flooring. So this all looks fine now. And I could always go in and add more things to make this a more attractive view, but I think it's fine the way it is for this. And I'm going to rename this. So right click on here, rename interior perspective. Note that you can also take these, and if you have the Lumion plugin on here, you could bring this view into Lumion, or if you have the Enscape plugin, those are both rendering plugins that work with this, and you would just be able to re-render this view with all of their objects, all their lighting, and it would just come out nicer. They do a better job with those things. You can also render from here, so you can click on render, and they'll give you a rendered version of this. I might not do the interior because I didn't actually work on lighting. When you do rendering, you need to worry about the real lights that you're showing and if you're providing enough light in the room. But we could try it here. So if I have this and I click on render, I'm going to leave it at draft just so it doesn't totally crash my computer. If I click on render, I probably should have saved it before I did that as well. It should give me a more rendered view of what that could look like. I think it kind of looks worse in the shade sometimes if you don't actually spend the time getting the lighting correct. So sometimes I just ignore it, but you could, you can fuss with it here. You can adjust the exposure. That didn't work at all. So let's see, brighter, apply, oh, too bright. Yeah, I don't know. You could work on these and try to make it look better. But I think for this, because I'm not spending a lot of time getting all my render settings correct, I tend to just leave it in my realistic perspective view. Okay, let's see what views we still need. So we did our site plan, exterior perspective, interior perspective. We did our 3 floor plans. We did our front and side elevations. So we need a building section. So right now I have balcony call out. I'm going to take that off and just do call out. Whatever the call out of your section makes sense for you, you can do. So for me, I think the section that I was showing probably made sense already. So I think that was section 2. So I think this is a good section for me to show because it shows my new stair. It shows the new lights. It just shows some of the level changes. I think this is like a useful section to show. So I'm going to hide this level as I've been doing. Okay. So is there anything for me to actually annotate on here? I could go through and tag doors. So I could do TG, tag that door, tag that door. Tag this door. That one doesn't look like it ever got its number fixed. This should be 03. So then I think my second question is is there anything I could show more detail on for this level? So I'm trying to think of like what could actually warrant more detail, like what would be helpful. I think sometimes having like a better view of the stairs and understanding the spacing of the stairs can be helpful. So I could look at that. I don't know that it's because we're at such an early stage, there isn't really anything call out worthy happening. The only reason I really have been looking for a call out at all is so that you can tell me that you know how to make one, honestly. So why don't we just do one at the stair and call it a day? In your project, there might be an element that makes more sense. Actually, I'll do it at the railing so I can kind of show the railing design. So maybe this is a generic model, but really I could imagine a more complicated railing coming in. So I'm going to click on call out, and then I'm going to show like a little area of the railing here. Actually, maybe we'll do this very little bit. And then I'm going to right click and hit go to view. Okay, so all the stuff that's in here, I actually don't super care about. I really just want to show like the railing design. So I'm going to use this as a base to show the height, but then I'm going to wind up kind of redrawing the railing like I really want it to be. So I'm going to go to annotate, and I'm going to use filled regions to just go over this. So let's say I want to have like a wood railing here that has some kind of a fancy top to it. So maybe, and I don't want wide lines, that's too big. So let's make this. Oops. Make this a medium line. So let's say I've got like some kind of funky little wood cap going on. I'm going to mirror these pieces around the middle there. Okay, so there's my little funky wood cap. I'm going to fill this with wood 1, get my check mark. Okay, so there's that. And then I wanted to just have a super clean metals. Actually, I think I want to have like a glass piece here that comes down as opposed to having these spikes or steel. What do I want? Let's just make it steel. So I'm going to go ahead and do another filled region. Use a thin line for this. And here I'm showing that come down. I'm going to show this come all the way up into there, hit my check mark. And this I'm going to fill with, there should be like an aluminum pattern. If I don't see what I'm looking for, so I'm going to do diagonal down. I want that to be slightly tighter, I think. So over here, I'm going to go to edit type, duplicate it, and call this railing. Hit OK. And here I can change my foreground fill pattern to aluminum. Hit OK again. And you see that just changed that type for me. So what's important here is really and then I need to show how I'm connecting this railing. So that's also important. So maybe this is the guardrail, and then I also want to show that the handrail is connecting straight to that. So I'm going to go ahead back to annotate, go back to filled region. I'm going to create a 1 1/4 radius handrail there. I want this to be the wood fill, which it is, and I also want to edit my boundary of this to make it that medium line. Okay, and then I want to show how this kind of attaches back to these balusters. So I'm going to go ahead and do a filled region. I'm going to offset this. Let's say the whole thing is only a 1/2 inch. It's like super thin here. I probably want this a little bit more centered. I'm not being super careful right now. Okay. And then this would come into here a bit. Okay, so I'm going to hit it. Oops, I forgot to close that up. Okay, and I'm going to change this over to railing. Okay, so everything else in this model I don't really need. I just really want to see like this section that I created, and there should be some way it's connecting to the stair over here. So maybe I'll have that just so showing that goes through. Or here, I'll have it end in a plate. So I'll make another region. Check on the dimension here. I get my green check and make sure that actually finishes off there. Green check. Okay. And this should also be the railing. Okay, so I just want my annotation categories to show up. I was using these railings to get things generally in the right location, but like I don't really want to see them. So I'm going to type in VV and I'm going to uncheck show model categories in this view. Oh, nope, can't do that. I type in VV. I'm going to select everything and uncheck it, but then I'm going to turn back on filled regions, which I thought would be under annotation categories, but I guess they're not. So let's see, maybe regions, filled regions, detail items, maybe. Okay, so I want to keep detail items checked. Then hit OK. I'm going to hide this. So what I care about is I'm going to make a fit line for the stair. So I'm going to go over here and do wire lines. Lines need to be visible too. It's coming back over here. I'm going to make sure I put lines back on. And then my scale is probably not big enough for this. So I'm going to change this to 3 feet equals 1 foot. Okay, so now this is nice and big and I can see everything. So I'm going to copy this down. I'm going to make my riser 1.5 inches thick. So I use this to detail out how I want this railing to actually work, even though my model is not precise. So I'm going to do DI, detail dimension from here to here. And right now that's 3'7". It only needs to be 3'6". So I'm going to type in here 3'6". I'm going to move this up. And that 3'6" is important because this is a guardrail. So I'm going to type on, click on here and type in min, because that's the minimum dimension that needs to be. And then the top of this actually also matters because we want to make sure that it is an accessible height. So right now it's at 3 foot, which is fine for a handrail. So we're going to leave that there. I think I forgot it's 3 foot max. We're just leave it at 3 foot. So we want them to always keep the top of this at 3'6" and top of this at 3 foot. We care about what the dimensions of these things are. So let's see what the dimension of this one is from here. Actually, this is probably going to get called out as something. So I'm going to put in text. And this is going to be wood rail profile 1. And I would have that detailed somewhere so we know exactly what catalog item it is, or we know exactly what dimensions it should be. And then I'm going to call this, this thing is huge. Let's make this just 3/4 inch here. So this one I'm going to do wood around handrail, 1 1/2 inch diameter. Try to keep your spelling in check. Okay. We want to dimension out what this is. This is 3/4 inch, or at least list it. So I'm going to copy this down and rename this. So this is going to be raw steel baluster, 1 3/4 inch square. Let's put Rosdale post. I think I spelled baluster wrong. So if you're never sure, you can always make it something simpler. Okay, Rosdale post, 1 inch square. And then what else do I need to label this thing? So the distance that this is from here matters. So I'm going to change this to a hidden line, so it's dashed. I'm going to dimension this from here to here. And this should be, I think it's 2.5 inches. Don't quote me on that. Check your code before you trust somebody else on it. But basically, there needs to be some space between this and the railing so that you can actually use the railing. And then I want to show how this connects. So I'm going to show the dimension from the top of the handrail, so from here to here. I probably want to make that something more normal, so I'm going to move this up 3/16 of an inch. And this is also 3/4 inches. That's 1/2 inch. I'm going to put here weld handrail to steel post at 3 foot on center. So I know that they're going to add in a certain number of those. They're going to add in enough of these to keep this secure. Right now, these are all like justified this way. If you're picky, you can justify them the other way. Maybe that looks a little bit better, up to you. But that's where you change that is all up here. Okay, so again, like, and then here you would need to actually detail out what happens there, that there's some kind of connection to the step happening. This is not a real project. I just want to make sure that you guys know how to draw filled regions, know how to add in dimensions, know how to add in your notes. So whatever makes sense for your project, whatever dimensions you can add in to make it a little bit more real, whatever you can detail out is great. So once I have all that set, I'm going to turn off my region there. I'm going to save. And I'm going to rename this view. So I'm going to call this rail detail. Okay, so now I have that done. Awesome. So that was using almost all annotation items, right? Like very little of this was done with modeled items. So I'm going back to here. I have my building section and my call out. Mine is from the railing. Okay, so then finally, the last thing you need are the enlarged plans and interior elevations. The lighting key and schedule we're going to work on for the next in the next tutorial. So enlarged plans and RCPs and 4-inch elevations of one room, 1/2 inch equals 1 foot. Okay, great, easy enough. So we've actually already made these views. So if I go to my level 1 call out one, this is that enlarged plan view. I might right click on here, override graphics and view by element, and make that halftone and make the projection lines dashed. See, they have an above line here, dot. Oh, 2 dotted. Okay, that's just telling me where that light aligns above, so I can remember that. There's nothing, I could tag furniture in here. There's nothing else really to tag, so I guess I could tag that. So I'm just going to leave this as is. So normally in enlarged plans, when you'd be using, because there's like a lot going on in that room, we're just using this as examples of like, I know how to make an enlarged plan. So I'm going to leave this one alone, and then I'm going to go over to Level 1 call out for ceiling plans. Here we do have some dimensions to add, right, because we added these lights. So somebody should already be in here. You did the EQs and the 2'6" out from the wall. I'm going to add one over here, showing that we're also 2'6" out from this wall. Oops. And actually, I'm going to drag these all the way out to here just so that they're out of the way of the walls when I'm looking at them. And then same thing here, I'm going to add in those EQs. Tab. So we know what the dimensions of those are. I actually don't need this underlay I had in before, so I'm going to turn off my underlay. That was over here. Underlay. None. Okay, and then I have this one. Instead of actually dimensioning this, I'm going to put in center lines to indicate that it's in the center. So I'm going to go to detail line over here, and then I want to add center line. I'm going to click right over that to add those in. I can make these a little bit bigger so it's clear, like I'm talking about the center of the room. And you can even dimension that. So if I do DI from tab here to there, I can hit EQ, same thing over here, here to here to here. And notice I'm using the EQs as opposed to putting the dimensions because I want them to measure on site and to make sure this is really the middle. I don't know what the real dimension of this room is. So whenever possible, I'm not writing in the dimension, I'm writing in what I want it to be. I want it to be in the middle. I'm going to turn off my reference plans because I think they're hard to look at. So I'm going over here. It's under annotation categories. Reference plans, okay. Okay, so I still need to write that this is the center line. So sometimes you have a detail group already called that. Let's see, do I have any detail groups loaded? Nope. All right, so I'm going to make a new one. So I'm going to go to text, type in C. I want it to be bigger than that, so I'm going to select this and go to 1/4 material. Okay. I wonder if it's under symbols. Let's say maybe if I go to symbol, north arrow 2, oh yeah, center line. Okay, awesome. So I don't have to make one. So I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go over to annotate symbol. And then I'm going to click on center line, and then I can put in center line here, center line here. I'm going to rotate this so that the L is like on that line. That's the center line. And that's just a reference. They know where to put this. The last thing I'm going to do is tag all these light fixtures. Oh, and I need to tag the ceiling, that it's a new ceiling. So TG for the ceiling. We don't have a ceiling tag. No, don't want to load one. Oh, I guess so. Yes, let's see. Do we have anything to load into here? We don't. We're going to leave the ceiling alone. I'm going to not worry about that right now, but you could load in a ceiling tag and then tag the ceiling. I do want to tag the lights though, and it might make me make a thing for this. Yeah, so I need to load in a lighting fixture tag. Let's see if there's one we can steal. I go to the Imperial Library, annotations. What if I do kind of like a multi-category tag? Yeah, okay, we can make a new tag, that's fine. So I'm going to go to File, New, let me save first. File, New, Family, English Imperial, Annotations, and here I'm looking for a lighting tag. It doesn't actually have that as an option, which is super annoying. So I'm going to go to Generic Tag, open it up. And you'll notice there's a note in here, use property, family categories, and parameters to set the tag's categories. So I'm going over here to family categories and parameters, this little button, and I'm going to make this a lighting tag. So lighting fixture tag, hit OK. And then I would put in a label. So 3:30 seconds is fine for my label. And then here I want to put in type mark and then click this to bring it over. So I should say type mark, hit OK. I want to make sure this is more or less centered on those lines. And then I can create some kind of symbol around it just so I know what it is. So tags generally have like a square around them or like some kind of something. So I'll use my line tool and maybe I'll use this little guy to tell me that like this is going to be my lighting fixture tag that I'm going to load into project and close. Cancel out a second, let's actually save it. So I'm going to go to save, give it a name, lighting tag. Hit save. Now I can load into project and close. And so now when I go back to that ceiling plan and type in TG, I can tag all those things. Oops, I forgot to delete the note. So edit family, delete that note, save it, load the project and close. Override existing parameter values, awesome. Okay. You'll notice there's no type mark, so I have to go to edit type over here and then put in a type mark. So I'm going to call this L1, hit OK, and then I want this to be L2. So I'm going to select this, edit type, and here I want it to say type mark is L2, hit OK. Okay, so now I can tag all these things, TG, okay. So the ceiling plan's all done. It has everything tagged in it that I need to have tagged. Awesome. Last thing I think I asked for was interior elevations. There isn't going to be a whole lot showing on those. How about we just, I think I'm going to change this and just have 2 interior elevations for this room. So if I go back to my level 1, oh sorry, level 1 column, I'm going to come over to view. And then over here under elevation, I'm going to click on here. And here, right now it's giving me building elevation. I'm going to change this to interior elevation. I'm going to pick 2 elevations to give. So let's say that I want to show maybe the side wall here, and also the front wall here. Okay, so I can right click, go to view. So that's going to show me what that looks like. Awesome. I have nothing to add to this. I'm just going to clean this up by cleaning up that. And then let's see the other one. Ideally, the light fixture would show up so I could dimension the light fixture at least. So you would see like how far that is off the ground. That's something important. So let's see if I do the other one, if it'll show up. If not, I'll modify these elevations a little bit. You'll notice these are showing up in all my views. I don't want them to. So I'm going to select here. And then over here under properties, you can hide it scales coarser than. I'm going to make that height at scales coarser than 1/2 inch because that's what my large plans are at. So I only want this to show up on that one set of plans. Okay, so going back to my level 1 call out. So I have this elevation and this one. I don't think either of those is going to show the light. So I'm actually going to modify where this one is. I'm going to drag it back a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to double click on here. And so on this one, I'm going to drag that up a little bit. We just need the floor one. I'm going to dimension where the top, where the bottom of this is at, of each of those. So that's and so ideally this would be like a more normal height. So I'm going to do 4 foot 6 inches. Okay. And so that's just telling them how to set this chandelier, like what the lowest is at. And also notice this at 4'6". All of these you would hit your head on. These are head bangers. So you want to make sure there's something underneath it, some kind of furniture underneath it. If you're looking at your interior elevation and something looks like way too potent, like way too, I don't know, it's popping out too much, you can always right click on something, go to override graphics and view by element. And I could bring this to halftone and hit OK. And that'll just let that kind of fade back a little bit so it's not so bright. And then you often ask for lighting fixtures if it's like a height of something. At the end, I'll put AFF as an above finished floor. Okay. The other thing that can go on interior elevations are things like art. If you're putting a TV on the wall and you want to dimension where it goes, anything like that you could put on here. In fact, let's put on a TV. So I'm going to go to Insert, Load Family. Let's go back to English Imperial. What would that be under? Maybe furniture? TV flat screen. So I'm going to open that up. I'm going to go back into my level 1 callout view to place it. Doesn't look like a flat screen to me, but that's okay. At least it stands out. So I'm going to rotate this. And I take off the stand. Okay, and then if I go into that elevation view, I should be able to see it, and now I can set the height. So maybe I want the height to be 4 foot off the ground. And then I could make a center line for this and kind of show where I want it located. So a lot of elevations are about locating things and making sure things are where you want them to be. So I'm doing a detail line, DL, putting my center line in here. I would give another center line, DL, here. And I'm going to dimension up to this line from here. So I'm going to make this 5 foot above the floor, so I'm changing that to 5 foot. And then at the end of this, I'm going to put in AFF for above finished floor, okay. And then I want this centered on my wall, so I'm going to grab that, grab this, grab that, and just hit the EQ button so that I know that that's centering right there. And this either can have a tag or I can just label it, so I could annotate it, text, and type in TV to show where that's going. Here I also want to make sure I have my center lines. So I'm going to go to Symbol, center line here, make sure I move over this center line that I didn't move over. Rotate this one so that the L is aligned with that line. Okay, so now that's all pretty well annotated up. I'm actually going to delete, that's all one light fixture, so I'm just going to give like the lowest one where that is. Okay, nothing else needs to be located on here. We're looking good. Okay, so I think that's all the views we had to make. The lighting chain schedule we'll get to on our next tutorial. Okay, so again, your project might be slightly different, right? Like everyone's going to have slightly different views they're looking at or slightly different notations they need to use. What I'm looking for is that you show me a snip of at least one view that is showing some of these dimensions, symbols, these different ways of depicting our drawings. So I'm going to go ahead and get a snip of this, new snipping tool. And this is the snip I would upload into Canvas.